astronauts have discovered a giant face on Mars. And now it may help them solve the mystery of humanity's origins. The story begins in Dickinson, Texas, in the year 2020. Astronauts, their families, and friends are partying at a celebration marking the departure of the first mission to Mars. Woody and his wife Terry are also preparing for the trip, but it's just the two of them going. Terry jokes that flying together strengthens their relationship, but no one has any idea yet what awaits them on this journey into space. The ship's commander, Luke, is worried that his colleague and friend Jim didn't come to the celebration. Luke, too, is sad about his last night, but his wife cheers him up and tells him to say goodbye to their young son. He promises the boy that he will read his favorite book every night, no matter where he is. So it would be as if they were reading it together. Finally, Jim does come to the party after all. Luke is very happy to see him. By nightfall, Woody, Jim, and Luke are already discussing the upcoming flight. They remember that Jim is a highly accomplished pilot. He once even managed to land a malfunctioning ship. Jim was supposed to go to Mars on the first mission, but because of his wife's illness he had to interrupt preparations for the flight. Now Luke goes in his place. The man feels guilty before his friend, as he has been preparing for this for 12 whole years. Jim says that everything is alright and wishes Luke a pleasant flight, although it is obvious that the man is very upset. "13 months pass. The crew of the Mars 1 mission lands near Cydonia. A remote-controlled camera drives across the surface of the desert planet and collects information. Suddenly, the team spots a mysterious bright white formation 16 kilometers from their location. The team decides that it is not volcanic ash, but more like ice. But why would there be ice on Mars? They decide to report it to the International Space Station and set out to investigate the unknown object themselves. At the Mars Expedition Control Center, the time is running 20 minutes behind. The station staff, Jim among them, is watching a video feed from the team. Luke assumes that this mysterious phenomenon is a groundwater discharge. And if it really is, they found a way to settle on the planet. Meanwhile, the Mars 1 team has already arrived at the anomalous occurrence. Suddenly, the team members begin to hear a strange low sound, which they mistake for interference from the rover. As they get closer to the mountain, the astronauts turn on the radar to find out what it is. The radar shows the presence of metal under the entire mountain. The team decides to check the formation again and increases the radar power. Suddenly the signal is interrupted and there is complete silence. The crew members are confused. Within seconds, a giant whirlwind begins to rise around the mountain. Like a living creature, it chases the astronauts and crushes them one by one. Rocks fly up into the air and smash into people with tremendous force, while the whirlwind sucks everything in its path into a gigantic sand vortex. The vortex subsides, and it turns out that the mysterious mountain is a huge humanoid face. As a result of the disaster, the space station detects an extremely powerful burst of energy. Management gathers all the team members to decide how to proceed. Woody and Terry and technician Phil arrive at the station, where they are told the extent of the disaster. A faint signal comes in from the Mars 1 mission camp, which means some of the crew survived after all. The crew turns on the distress call from Luke. The frightened man confusedly describes what happened to his crew. He manages to recount the low sound they heard and the unexplained phenomenon that attacked and decimated the rest of the crew. The powerful pulse knocked out all the computers, which means there's no way to contact Luke again. The station realizes that the only chance to find out what happened and try to help Luke is to send a Mars 2 mission to him. Suddenly, Phil realizes that the Saturn research satellite is passing through Mars orbit and can be reprogrammed to explore the Mars 1 camp. But the station manager states that a launch is not possible until 8 months later. However, Jim has a plan. He's already done the calculations and figured out that they can fly out sooner by reducing the ship's load and taking more fuel. The commander, named Ray, doesn't share Jim's optimism at first, but the man proves that everything will work out, because he was the one who developed the evacuation plan for the Mars mission. Jim's idea is backed by Woody, and Ray agrees after all. Woody checks with Ray on the team composition. He insists that Jim be the co-pilot. Ray is against it, as Jim is not cleared to fly. The man didn't want to take the few remaining psychological tests because of the illness and the passing of his wife. But Woody manages to convince the commander.
You give me McConnell as co-pilot and we will bring Luke home. That's a promise.
The Mars 2 mission has been traveling for 174 days. Phil is making a model of his ideal woman's DNA out of candy. After eating one of the candies, Jim asks whose DNA it is now. Phil assumes it is now a frog. Woody observes a dust storm on the screen that is heading straight for the Mars 1 expedition camp. He tells Jim that he will have to speed up and move ahead of schedule, because soon the storm will cover the entire planet for an entire year. Finally, data from the satellite arrives. The team finds that the Mars 1 ship is intact. As they get closer to another area, they spot 3 graves. Luke may still be alive. Scanning the site for radiation levels, the team sees strange interference on the screen. Woody notes that the earthquake that happened 6 months ago couldn't have caused this. But Jim is sure it wasn't an earthquake. The entire crew of the ship, as well as the space station personnel, are excited about the arrival of the second mission to Mars. Ray gives permission to land.
Tomorrow morning, you will be go.
Meanwhile, Jim remembers his wife Maggie and watches old videos. They met at the Air Force Academy, got married and became commanders of the Mars 1 base. Maggie dreamed of landing on Mars and believed her mission was to unravel its mystery. She was sure there was something unfathomable there. Now Jim, too, wants to get to the truth at any cost. There's just over an hour to go before the ship enters Mars orbit. The astronauts check all systems and procedures. Phil enters the necessary data on the screen, and suddenly a micrometeoroid cloud strikes the ship. One of the meteor particles shatters the glass and Phil is injured in the arm. The crew discovers a malfunction in the primary system. The pressure drops and a hole is discovered in the ship's hull. Woody finds it and fixes it, but the air pressure keeps dropping. This means there are more holes in the ship. Complete decompression is minutes away. Woody decides to go outside, but it's almost impossible to find the damaged area. Suddenly the crew members figure out how to find the breach. They open a liquid package, and all the substance begins to rush toward the inconspicuous hole. The atmospheric pressure on the ship is already critically low. Jim feels sick and loses consciousness. At the last moment, Woody plugs the hole and the pressure finally stabilizes. Woody wants to inspect the entire hull, as there are still many scratches left on it. But by this point, the ship is ready to go into orbit. Phil tells Woody to hurry back. The man heads back out without ever fully inspecting the hull. The crew does not yet know that at this point they have made a fatal mistake. Phil starts the engine and turns on the fuel injection, but it turns out that no one has noticed another breach in the engine's fuel line. Some of the fuel is forced out into space. The team begins the countdown and Phil prepares to press the start button.
Let's go to Mars.
As the engine starts, the fuel ignites and damages the ship. The systems do not respond to commands. The engine cannot be shut down. The ship falls through the atmosphere and will burn up in 3 minutes. The crew discovers in a panic that the supply module, which was left in orbit from Mars 1, is only a kilometer away. The astronauts put on their spacesuits and decide to go into open space, hoping to reach the module. After leaving the ship, the crew discovers that the supply module is not where they thought it would be and is moving too fast. Woody decides to use his rocket pack to fly to the module and attach a tether to it. However, the fuel quickly runs out and Woody is forced to switch to autonomous flight mode and drop the propulsion. The man is already approaching the module, but now he can't stop. He hits the module, manages to secure the tether, but is unable to grab on and flies past, continuing to fall to Mars. The autonomous system shuts down, and now there is no way he can change his flight course. His colleagues immediately wish to fly after him, but Woody stops them, as the jetpack doesn't have enough power to fly there and back. Woody realizes that this is the end. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew manages to get a foothold on the module. Suddenly Terry disconnects her tether. She wants to save her husband at all costs. Woody tries to talk her out of it, but she won't give up. Seeing that there is 51% fuel left, just for the return flight, the woman stops. Terry launches her harpoon, and Woody reaches out, hoping that its length is enough. However, he is already too far away and the cable is half a meter short. Terry is about to fly a little closer and try again, but Woody realizes that if she flies any farther, she won't be able to return. He tells Terry that he loves her and won't let her do that.
God, no, I love you.
Woody! Down!
Woody takes off his helmet and instantly freezes. Jim tries to calm Terry down and convinces her to come back. The space station stops receiving signals from Mars 2. The staff thinks the crew has not survived, but suddenly they receive data that the supply module in orbit has landed on Mars. This means that someone was operating it. Ray realizes that no one but Jim is capable of such a thing. All of the remaining crew members finally arrive on Mars. Having planted the national flag, they head for the first expedition ship. The crew has taken with them new motherboards, which they are going to install in place of the burned ones. The astronauts explore the ship. Jim goes into the greenhouse and notices that someone has clearly been here all this time, because all the instruments are on. Suddenly, he is attacked by the surviving Luke. He thinks Jim is just a hallucination and seeks to get rid of it. Jim reminds Luke of his son and tells him that they have Red Treasure Island. This soothes the man. Luke finally comes to his senses and realizes that his friends are real. He is insanely happy to see Jim, Terry, and Phil and can't believe they were able to make it. He cries tears of happiness, but his joy is replaced by grief when he learns that Woody didn't make it. The team asks Luke what happened to the crew of the first mission, but he only repeats that something burst from the top of the mountain and obliterated everyone. Luke believes that he survived for a reason. He is the one who must solve the mystery. Everyone seems to think that the man is a little crazy, since he has spent a whole year alone on a distant planet. His friends inform him that they have brought their navigation boards with them and they will soon all be able to fly away. Luke tells the crew about the terrible event and shows them the burial sites. Suddenly Jim notices a huge storm in the distance that is about to cover the entire planet. Luke says it has been here for a long time and originated from the mysterious mountain. He guesses that Jim and the rest of the crew can't quite believe his story. All the astronauts return to the ship. Here Luke tries to explain exactly the mystery he has to solve. After all, millions of years have passed, during which there have been meteor falls, sandstorms, and lava flows. Because of all this, the surface of the planet has changed, and they just couldn't see it. Luke turns on the computer and shows the mountain in the shape of a face. The astronauts are shocked by what they see. Jim asks Luke to turn on the sound they heard before the storm. Luke starts the recording and says that this particular sound is the key. During the time the second mission was on the way, Luke figured out that the strange sounds are a repeating set of mathematical symbols. He correlated the groups of sounds with a coordinate system and got a model of a DNA. Luke surmises that it is a portrait of the creature who created the face. The astonished astronauts notice that it's not quite human, because the model is missing the last pair of chromosomes. However, they don't yet understand why. While sorting through the supplies, Jim accidentally spills Phil's candy and remembers how they fooled around with the DNA model. He realizes that the sounds the face makes and the DNA model that is derived from the sounds is not a portrait. It's a test. The face is waiting for an answer to a question. The astronauts on the first mission should have added the missing pair of chromosomes to prove they were human. Instead, they pointed the radar and it was interpreted as the wrong answer and the face became defensive. Now it's up to the surviving astronauts to find out what happens when this mysterious face gets the right answer. Jim offers to find out which tones correspond to the missing chromosomes. He plans to record the resulting sound as a message. Phil and Terry have doubts. What if their assumptions are wrong after all and the same fate awaits them as the first crew? But Jim insists, for if they leave without finding out, it means their friends have given their lives in vain. Luke has an idea. They will stay away from the face, and the recording will be sent along with the remote-controlled camera. The team positions the sound source as close to the Martian face as possible. After the augmented DNA signal ends, an entrance appears in the face. A blinding white light can be seen from it. The astronauts regard this reaction as an invitation. Jim, Terry and Luke go to the face. Phil stays on the ship, and Jim orders him to leave at the appointed time, even if they don't return. The astronauts enter a white-walled room and the entrance closes behind them. Communication with Phil is cut off and they realize they are trapped. Jim suddenly realizes that inside the giant face there is an Earth-like atmosphere. The astronauts carefully remove their helmets. Suddenly, an airlock opens behind them, and the team walks inside without hesitation. In a dark room, they see a huge three-dimensional projection of the solar system. Soon a hologram of a Martian appears, revealing to the astronauts the secret of the origin of life on Earth. He is in tears. In the distant past, a giant asteroid hit the Earth like Mars, destroying its entire ecosystem. The Martians went to another galaxy, but one ship was sent to Earth. Inside it, they sent their DNA, and thanks to those cells, life formed on our planet.
The first multi-celled plants and animals appeared.
The astronauts realized that it was the Martians who gave life to all mankind. After finishing watching the story, Jim, Luke, Terry and the Martian hologram hold hands around a projection of Earth. Suddenly it disappears and a white circle appears in its place. The Martian then leaves the astronauts. Suddenly, the communication with Phil is restored. He reports that the storm is intensifying and could soon overwhelm the ship. The team realizes that a ship will also fly out of the face and the countdown has already begun. Terry and Luke rush to the exit, but Jim refuses to leave. He realizes that this is all an invitation. With the Martian ship, he will go on to explore further into space. Jim sees this as his destiny and believes Maggie would want the same. Luke and Terry do not discourage their friend, but only thank him. After saying goodbye to Jim, the astronauts leave the amazing room. The storm is about to overtake their ship, and they must get to it as quickly as possible. It's departure time, but Luke and Terry are still gone. Meanwhile, Jim steps into the white circle and finds himself in a transparent capsule, which rises extremely fast to the Martian spaceship. Luke and Terry make their way through the sandstorm. They're late, but they hope Phil doesn't fly away without them. Phil is about to start the engines, but suddenly Luke makes contact. Finally they are ready to go. The space around Jim is filled with fluid. After a few moments, he realizes he can breathe in there. All of his best moments in life flash before his eyes. Jim is happy and ready for another amazing journey. The entire Martian face turns into a pillar of fire, through which the ship carrying Jim rises. Phil, Luke, and Terry successfully leave Mars. Through the porthole, they see Jim on the ship headed far, far away, toward an unknown galaxy. What do you think awaits Jim out there? What mysteries will he discover on other planets? Share your thoughts in the comments, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.